He only went to take care of camels, but returned with 4 wives and a fortune. Sounds like a soap opera? Well, it's not. This is the true story of Darmawan. In a remote village tucked deep in Java's forgotten fields, there lived a young man named Darmawan, the kind of man who couldn't even upload a WhatsApp status without climbing to the roof of his house. His phone barely caught a signal, but his heart? It caught fire every time he dreamed of a better life. Darmawan was the eldest of 3 siblings, raised by a single mother and hardened by poverty. But he was no slacker. His life was a marathon of survival jobs, working rice fields in the morning, delivering water gallons by noon, brewing coffee at night in a neighbor's warung, and even babysitting when the candidate mother next door had a campaign rally. And yet, despite his tireless grind, Darmawan's earnings vanished faster than they came. Prices rose. Gas cost more. Rice became a luxury. But his wages remained as faithful as a loyal ex, always stuck at the same place. One evening, while sipping overly sweet sachet coffee at the neighborhood security post, Darmawan overheard a story that changed everything. "Juan," said Mr. Warno, puffing on a clove cigarette, "you're strong, hard-working. Arabia's full of jobs. They pay big just to take care of camels. Feed them, talk to them, sleep, eat, repeat. That's it." Darmawan's eyes widened. "Talk to camels?" He chuckled. "I've had full conversations with chickens. Camels won't be a problem." From that night, the dream of becoming a migrant worker lit a fire inside him. He visited the nearest internet cafe, a place where the loading speed could test a monk's patience, and began applying. He borrowed money, knocked on every door for advice, and begged his mother for prayers. His mother cried, "Juan, be careful. Don't let the camels eat you." Darmawan smiled. "Relax, Mom. I'm not feeding myself to them, just feeding them." And so it began. His first time on an airplane was a symphony of confusion and panic. The engine roared, and Darmawan leaned toward the passenger next to him. "Is that sound normal? Or is the plane leaking?" The man just smiled and wore his headphones. When he stepped onto Saudi Arabian soil, the desert heat hit him like betrayal. "This son has a personal grudge," he muttered, already sweating before even lifting a finger. A man in a white robe with a scent strong enough to dizzy a camel approached him at the airport. His beard was thick, his smile calm. "Is Muka Darmawan?" he asked. "Yes, sir. I'm Juan," he replied, nerves cracking through his Javanese accent. "I am Syed Abdullah. Our camels are now your responsibility." "What?" Darmawan froze. First job ever, and already this much trust? He didn't even know what a camel smelled like yet. He was taken to a sprawling compound, part house, part desert palace, with camel pens as far as the eye could see. It looked less like a farm and more like a royal zoo. He would live in a small, air-conditioned back room with a bed softer than anything he'd ever slept on. But the real shock came when he was introduced to the camels. Big, tall, proud, and absolutely unimpressed by his arrival. The oldest, named Malik, had a neck like a street lamp and a burp that could silence an entire pen. Still, Darmawan did what he always did best. He spoke from the heart. "Malik, you're eating fast today. What's wrong, bro? Chill. And don't you dare spit. I haven't showered yet." Strangely, the camels began to respond. Every morning they greeted him. Every night they bowed when he combed their fur. "I think I'm becoming a celebrity in this pen." He laughed. Despite being far from home and surrounded only by animals, Darmawan felt peace. The place was clean, the food was good, though it was goat, and more goat. "If I stay 5 years, I might become a goat," he once joked to himself. But the job wasn't as simple as he'd imagined. Each camel had a name, a personality, a routine. Malik was moody but loyal. Layla, the only female, loved being pampered and would nudge you gently for carrots. Ferris loved to sleep. And Jamil? Always tried escaping the pen, even though he walked like an old grandma. Darmawan's job became more than just feeding and cleaning. He had to bathe them, check their hooves, massage their stiff necks, even clean their ears. And above all, he had to talk to them. Sayyid Abdullah believed camels had feelings, and the more love they received, the more obedient and healthy they'd become. So Dharmawan talked. Every single day. Malik, stop sulking. You look like your crush ghosted you. Layla? Jamil's looking at you again, don't pretend you didn't see it. Jamil, if you escape again, I'm locking you in with the chickens. Over time, something magical happened. The camels obeyed more. Trusted more. Even bonded more. Dharmawan once saved Malik from choking on plastic, and the other workers nicknamed him the Camel Whisperer from Java. But his magic wasn't just for animals. Sayyid Abdullah grew fond of him, very fond. He began inviting Dharmawan inside the house. First for errands. Then for tea. Eventually for family dinners. And slowly. Dharmawan wasn't just the camel boy. He became trusted. Respected. Almost like a son. Dharmawan had never imagined his life could feel this peaceful. Each day started at 5 a.m., not for the gym or some Instagram-worthy sunrise walk, but to greet his desert companions, the camels. Good morning, Malik. You haven't brushed your teeth again, huh? He'd whisper, gently wiping the spit off his shirt. The desert had become his home. The hot wind, the golden silence, the constant hum of camel groans, he found beauty in it all. He didn't miss the constant struggles of his village. Here he had purpose. Structure. Even friendship, with animals, yes, but sincere ones. The camels had personalities. Malik, the brooding elder, always alert but soft toward Dharmawan. Layla, the flirtatious female camel, who would lean her head lovingly on his shoulder for attention. Ferris, the sleepy one, who could nap during a thunderstorm. Jamil, the slow-motion escape artist who kept trying to break out of the pen. But Dharmawan's role was evolving. Sayyid Abdullah, his employer, trusted him with more responsibilities. One day it was helping load the car for the market, the next he was serving tea to important guests. Eventually, Dharmawan began sitting beside Sayyid during private family gatherings. Evenings were peaceful. He'd video call his mother every night from his small, air-conditioned room behind the main house. Look, Mom, he'd say. The AC here is so cold, I think rice could freeze in this room. His mother would smile tearfully on the other side of the screen, both proud and prayerful. But fate, as always, had surprises lined up. One morning, something strange happened, something small that would spark a massive change. Layla, the friendly camel, refused to eat. She turned her face away from her food and stood silently in the corner of the pen. Sayyid Abdullah was deeply alarmed. Layla is not just any camel, he explained. She is special. Dharmawan was asked to handle it. He entered the pen, sat beside Layla, and stroked her long neck gently. Come on, Lay, don't be dramatic, he whispered. If you get sick, I'll be out of a job. He stayed with her for nearly 2 hours, speaking softly, singing a little, even pretending to argue with Jamil just to make her smile. Finally, Layla nudged forward and took a bite. Sayyid watched the scene quietly from a distance. His eyes didn't show relief, they showed something deeper, admiration. From that day forward, something shifted. Dharmawan wasn't just an employee anymore. He was family. Sayyid began to include Dharmawan in everything. He no longer just tended to the animals. He was trusted with household affairs, personal errands, even conversations with close relatives. But it didn't stop there. Sayyid's 4 wives, who once passed Dharmawan with polite nods and short greetings, slowly began to warm up to him. Dharmawan, is Layla better today? Asked the first wife gently one afternoon. Alhamdulillah, she's dancing again in the pen, he replied with a smile. Another time, one of them asked, Can you help me carry the shopping bags from the market? Of course, madam, he said, though he wasn't sure which wife she was out of the 4. Day by day, the walls melted. The women weren't distant anymore. They began chatting casually with him, asking about the camels, about his life in Indonesia, and even requesting small favors, like hanging curtains or adjusting the fan. It all felt strange, but respectful. No one crossed the line. Everyone treated him kindly, even warmly. And slowly Darmawan's heart, though confused, began to accept that he belonged here. But then came the twist. Sayyid Abdullah's health began to decline. At first, it was just a lingering cough. But as the weeks passed, he grew weaker. Doctors came and went. His presence in the household diminished. His voice, once loud and commanding, became soft and strained. The home changed. The laughter died down. Conversations became whispers. Even the camels, as if sensing something, grew quieter. One night, Darmawan was called into the main living room. He thought it was just to deliver tea or perhaps clean something. But inside, he found a heavy silence. Sayyid lay on a grand bed in the center of the room, pale and tired but still dignified. Around him sat his 4 wives, 2 sons, a family advisor, and the doctor. "Darmawan," Sayyid whispered, gesturing for him to come closer. Darmawan approached, nervous, confused. "Do you know how much I trust you?" Sayyid asked softly. I hope I haven't let you down," Darmawan replied. Sayyid took a deep breath. "When I die, I want you to take care of this house. My camels. My workers. My family." Everyone lowered their gaze. Darmawan froze. "But, sir, I've already written it in my will," Sayyid interrupted gently. "I've spoken to my wives. They've agreed." "Agreed to what?" "To let you marry them. All 4 of them. So you may protect them. Lead them. Continue this family with honor." Silence filled the room. The fan above turned slowly, ticking like a countdown clock. Darmawan's lips parted. But no words came out. 4 wives? He looked around. Not one of the women protested. In fact, one of them gave a small, supportive nod. His knees nearly buckled. He had gone from feeding camels to being offered 4 wives, like a plot twist from a late-night soap opera. Sayyid, despite his weakness, smiled kindly. "You are not just a worker. You are the most honest man I've ever met. My sons have their own paths. But you, I believe you are meant to be here." The days following that emotional night blurred into silence and tension. Sayyid Abdullah's health had taken a steep decline. His voice grew fainter. His presence dimmed. Most days, he barely opened his eyes. The home that once echoed with laughter and camel grunts now felt like a quiet desert after a storm. Darmawan, once the cheerful soul pacing around the camel pen with jokes and songs, now sat still most of the day, just outside Sayyid's bedroom door, waiting to be called. He barely slept. Barely ate. Every step he took felt heavier. One morning, before dawn, the house fell into an eerie stillness. Sayyid Abdullah had passed away in his sleep. No screams. No chaos. Just a silence so loud it pierced the heart. Darmawan stood frozen as he helped lift the body, his hands trembling. He wore the simple white robe Sayyid had gifted him only weeks earlier. As they lowered Sayyid into the grave, tears streamed down his cheeks, not for a lost employer, but for the man who had become like a father. After the burial, the house remained silent. But only for a short while. Because that afternoon, the family advisor called everyone into the sitting hall. The time had come to read the official will, the very document Sayyid had referenced in his final request. Present in the room were Sayyid's 4 wives, sitting quietly, dressed in soft mourning clothes. His 2 adult sons, calm but unreadable. Close relatives, household staff. And Darmawan, seated in the farthest corner, heart racing, palms sweating. The advisor opened a sealed envelope, cleared his throat, and began. "In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. I, Abdullah bin Said, being of sound mind and soul, write this will with full awareness and intent." As the letter continued, Darmawan began to hear words that made his head spin. "I entrust the full responsibility of this home, this family, and all livestock and property, to the one man I trust most, Darmawan bin Sutrisno of Indonesia." Gasps escaped quietly. All heads turned to the back of the room. But the next line dropped like a stone in the ocean. I not only entrust Darmawan with my house and business, but also with the care and guardianship of my 4 wives. I formally request, with their consent, that he marry them, so their lives may remain protected, dignified, and secure. The room fell into complete silence. Darmawan's jaw dropped. His hands trembled. His breath became shallow. His 4 wives? This wasn't a prank. This wasn't village gossip. This was legally written, and everyone in the room had heard it. He slowly turned his head toward the wives, all of them calm. One smiled softly. Another simply lowered her gaze. Not one protested. Not one rejected the will. The advisor walked up to him gently and whispered, Darmawan, this isn't a trap. You're not being forced. Sayyid trusted you. The wives have agreed. This has been discussed long before. Darmawan stood slowly, his voice cracking. Sir, I'm a Camel caretaker. I've only had one girlfriend. And she dumped me because I didn't have a scooter. Now you're asking me to marry 4 noble women, at once? Sayyid's son stepped forward, one placing a hand on his shoulder. We know it's strange. But our father trusted you more than anyone. We want our mothers to be cared for with respect and fairness, not abandoned. You're not just the right man. You're the only man he ever saw as worthy. The world around Darmawan spun. He wasn't dreaming. He hadn't eaten bad goat stew. This was real. He returned to his room that night and did the only thing that made sense. He video called his mother. Her face appeared on the screen, worn but warm. Juan, are you okay? You look pale. I'm not sick, Ma. But something happened. He hesitated. I inherited everything. The house. The land. The camels. Her eyes widened. Subhanallah. Ma, and he asked me to marry his 4 wives. There was a long pause. Then the sound of a spoon clattering to the floor. 4? But you've never even brought home a girl. I know. Now you're going from 0 to 4? The next 3 days were a blur of internal chaos for Darmawan. He prayed. He read the Qur'an. He had long conversations with religious scholars, family advisors, and most importantly, his mother. He kept thinking, can I even be fair? Can I really do this? But one by one, each of Sayyid's wives met with him privately. Not to flirt. Not to convince. But to speak kindly. Humbly. Honestly. We know this is unusual, said the first. But we also know you are sincere. We don't expect perfection, said the second. Just fairness. You don't have to love us, said the third. But protect us. Sayyid believed in you, said the fourth. And so do we. Those words broke something inside Darmawan, not out of pressure, but gratitude. That despite his village roots, despite his simplicity, these women saw value in him that even he hadn't yet seen in himself. After 3 nights of wrestling with destiny, he nodded. He called his mother. Ma, I'll accept. But only if you agree. There was silence. Then her voice, soft but strong. As long as you are fair, and you remember who gave you this, I'm with you. And so it began. The weddings were held in the same home Sayyid once ruled. No loud music. No gold decorations. No clapping crowds. Each marriage took place one by one, with proper intervals, guided by faith and legality. Simple. Sacred. Sincere. Darmawan performed each ijab kabul with shaky hands and a dry throat. He even practiced in the mirror beforehand. And on the night after the final marriage, he sat alone in his room. 4 wives. 4 signatures. 4 yes responses. And one utterly stunned camel boy who now sat as head of a family empire. The day after his final marriage ceremony, Darmawan woke up to a strange silence. Not from fear. Not from confusion. But from the overwhelming realization that his life was no longer his alone. He was now the husband of 4 women. Not 2 plus 2. Not theory. Real. Breathing. Intelligent. Experienced. Arab women, all once married to a powerful sheikh, and now, all married to a former camel caretaker from rural Java. And it started immediately. "Darmawan, what would you like for breakfast?" asked the first wife from the hallway. "Do you want coffee or mint tea?" called the second. "You haven't changed your clothes yet?" teased the third. And from the fourth, "I left a new white cocoa shirt for you. Try it on today." Darmawan sat on the bed, blinking into the morning light. "Ya Allah," he muttered. "This is harder than dealing with 2 fighting camels." The real challenge wasn't love. It was fairness. He quickly learned that being the husband of 4 wives wasn't about ego or romance. It was about time management, emotional balance, and serious diplomacy. The first issue? Dinner. Each wife had her own kitchen, her own favorite spices, her own inherited recipes from Moroccan grandmothers or Lebanese aunties. Wife 1 liked cooking spicy goat curry. Wife 2 preferred vegetarian stews. Wife 3 was a fan of ultra-spicy food that made Darmawan's tongue cry. Wife 4 cooked everything with so much olive oil, his fingers felt slippery just walking into the room. And each night, there came the question. "Honey, my dish was good, right?" And Darmawan, ever the peacekeeper, would smile nervously, chewing as fast as he could. "Delicious! So delicious that I'll be right back. Just need to drop off a plate in the next kitchen." But even harder than the food? The schedule. They agreed. Monday night with wife 1. Tuesday with wife 2. Wednesday with wife 3. Thursday with wife 4. Friday? Can I apply for annual leave?" Darmawan joked, holding a calendar like a confused schoolteacher. Despite the chaos, he did everything honestly and fairly. He wasn't the charming husband with a golden tongue. He was awkward, often confused, sometimes hilariously clumsy. But that's exactly why his wives began to respect him even more. He tried his best. He never raised his voice. He listened more than he spoke. He never played favorites. And slowly, something magical happened. The 4 wives, who had once lived in quiet separation as co-wives of a respected man, began to bond like sisters. They drank tea together in the courtyard. They exchanged spices, laughed about Darmawan's confused expressions, and even gossiped about camel personalities like Layla's dramatic hunger strike or Malik's stubbornness. "Alhamdulillah, our husband is not a flirt," joked one of them. "Yes," said another. "He's just a humble camel whisperer who accidentally became a prince." Word of this unusual household began to spread. Neighbors whispered. City guests came to see the Indonesian who married 4 Arab widows. Someone even asked him during a market visit, "Brother, what's your secret to controlling the heart and being fair?" Darmawan just chuckled with a tired face. "Controlling camels is easier, bro." But through it all, Darmawan remained grounded. He still woke up before the sun. He still visited the camel pen each morning, greeting Malik with a playful slap on the neck and calling out to Layla like a childhood friend. He still helped the workers carry sacks of grain, clean troughs, and even scoop dung when no one was watching. The only difference now? His sandals were softer. His clothes were cleaner. And the air around him carried a subtle whiff of expensive oud perfume. But his humility never left him. Because he remembered where he came from. From the village where Wi-Fi signals feared to travel. From the days of delivering water gallons and patching leaking roofs. Now he stood, not above others, but among them. As a leader who served, not ruled. As a husband who listened, not demanded. As a father figure to workers and a friend to camels. His life, however, was about to grow even more complex. Because Syed Abdullah had left behind more than just wives and animals. There was also a business empire. A perfume shop in the city. A date farm in the desert. Several rental properties. And a luxury villa still under construction. Darmawan had never touched a calculator for anything beyond splitting a bill. Now he was expected to manage balance sheets, approve renovations, and calculate profit margins. "I thought margin was the name of a new camel," he mumbled once, holding a document upside down. But Darmawan didn't give up. He asked the family advisor for help. He started watching YouTube videos about finance, investment, and how to run a shop. He read books, took notes, even began scribbling with a gold-plated pen, just for motivation. And slowly he grew. From camel caretaker, to household manager, to businessman. 1 year had passed since Sheikh Abdullah's death, and in that time, Darmawan's life had transformed beyond recognition. From a barefoot boy who once begged his mother for bus fare, to the husband of 4 women, the manager of a desert estate, and the leader of a legacy built over generations. He now oversaw dozens of workers, managed property investments, and held business meetings with dignitaries and city officials. But the most beautiful thing? He still woke up before dawn, walked to the camel pen, and greeted Malik as if nothing had changed. "Still spitting in your sleep, Malik? You haven't changed one bit." The camels recognized him, not as their servant anymore, but as their protector, their constant. They even seemed calmer in his presence. Maybe animals know something humans forget, that real power isn't loud, it's consistent. At home, the 4 wives had adapted beautifully. They no longer saw themselves as widows of a nobleman. They were now queens in their own right, respected and secure. They hosted charity drives, led Qur'an study groups, managed parts of the estate. More importantly, they genuinely loved and respected each other, because Darmawan had never played favorites. He listened to each, supported each, and showed fairness in both time and affection. Of course, it wasn't always easy. One night, Darmawan forgot whose room he was supposed to visit and ended up falling asleep in the hallway with a pillow and prayer beads. One of his wives found him snoring with a smile on his face. "Maziallah Mas," she whispered, laughing. "This is a household, not a gender equality seminar." But while the house ran smoothly, Darmawan never stopped learning. He took business lessons seriously. He understood the perfume trade, began investing in land, and turned the camel farm into a competitive racing operation, one that started attracting regional attention. He even hosted dignitaries from abroad who came to see the legendary Indonesian camel whisperer who became a prince. But no matter how high he rose, there was one thing he never stopped doing: calling his mother every week. "Ma, how are you?" "I'm good, son. Your goat had a cold, but we gave it ginger." "Ma, that's the camel, not a goat." "Oh, all these animals of yours confuse me." He had built her a house, complete with a flower garden, a fish pond, and a kitchen so big, she once said, "I can cook 3 dishes and still dance in it." Still, she missed him. And she kept every photo, every screenshot from video calls, every tiny gift he sent from Arabia, as if they were medals of honor. One evening, Darmawan sat alone on the balcony of the mansion Sheikh Abdullah had left behind. The desert sky stretched above him, stars twinkling like glittering prayers. He closed his eyes and whispered, "I came here to feed camels. That's it. Just to earn enough money to send home. I had no idea that Allah had written a story like this for me." He looked down at his hands, once calloused, now adorned with a silver ring gifted by his wives. He smiled, not out of pride, but gratitude. "I didn't chase this life. I didn't plot, scheme, or trick. I just showed up. Worked hard. Spoke kindly. Cleaned honestly. And Allah opened doors I didn't even know existed." Sometimes, life writes a story so strange, so perfect, so wildly improbable, you wonder if it was made for a movie. But this wasn't fiction. This was Darmawan's real life. A boy from a signal-less village. A man who once feared camels would bite him. A husband who learned fairness on the job. A son who never forgot his mother. And a leader who never let power ruin his humility. One night, as he returned from evening prayer, he walked past the living room. There they were, his 4 wives sitting together, sipping tea and chatting about curtain colors. He paused in the doorway, smiling. "Sorry I'm late," he said. I was talking to the stars. They looked at him curiously. What did they say? One asked. He chuckled and replied. They said I'm the luckiest man in the sky tonight.